customer email list, sees all the computers, all the literature, everything. This happened to the Life Extension Foundation many years ago, by the way, in an FDA raid. And then they will require the company to refund the money to every customer in the history of that company. So my question is, as someone who's covered this journalistically, why doesn't the FTC or the FDA go in and require Glaxo to refund all the money from all the sales of these drugs that they admitted to off-label fraudulent criminal marketing? And wouldn't that make sense? Refund everybody.
Right. Well, absolutely. I mean, listen, one of the things, I mean, I've suffered. My family and I have suffered for me blowing the whistle, no question. But I haven't suffered nearly as much as, say, some mother or father whose child committed suicide because their child's doctor was marketed, Paxil for off-label. I keep that in perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be a breath of fresh air if the punishment fit the crime. It really would be, because then it would be a disincentive. And
exactly.
And the companies would stop doing the behavior.
That's the issue. You just nailed it right there, Blair. It's a disincentive because right now, let's say Glaxo might have made, I'm just guessing, $30 billion off of selling these drugs. So, okay, $30 billion, they set aside $3 billion and have a stack of cash in the CEO's office, let's say. That'd be a pretty big stack, even in fiat currency. But they take the $3 billion, when they get caught, they take the $3 billion, hand it to the feds and say, we're going to keep doing business. And they never have to pay back their profits that they made illegitimately in the first place. So they just keep doing business. It's just a cost of business. It never ends.
And the way the law reads, the way the False Claims Act reads, it's supposed to be $10,000 per violation. So when you start thinking about every prescription, a $10,000 fine per violation, the company's not allowed to do business with the, if convicted, the company's not allowed to do business with the federal government at all.
Well,
and
that's the other thing.
Pfizer setting up the dummy corporation to take the fall. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Why does Medicare and Medicaid keep doing business with these companies that admit to felony crimes? Why does Obamacare force us to do business with these companies by forcing us to buy into a health insurance system? And I know your thoughts on, you like the fact that everybody needs some kind of health care safety net. I understand that.
Right.
But shouldn't we have a choice and not be forced to do business with criminal companies?
I concur with that completely. I think that, like our education system, everyone has a right to a basic high school education.
Right.
I think that everyone should be able to get, health care, but I don't think, the way what's been proposed is the right way to go about it.
No, look, I used to live in Taiwan, and that's why I went out of college, because we're in an economic recession at that time. And there they have a healthcare system that is kind of a government-run system, but it's dirt cheap. An employer at that time, literally, they were paying about $4 a month per employee for full coverage. $4 a month. Now, today that might be $20 a month, but imagine if U.S. employers only had to pay $20 a month for each employee. I don't think there would be much debate about that. Part of the problem with Obamacare is that it's so expensive it bankrupts the companies. It bankrupts families, and now it's going to be hit with a tax. I mean, I didn't mean to get you into the political issue, Blair, but the criminality of the drug companies becomes an issue when we're forced to do business with those companies.
Right. I mean, you wouldn't do business with a known criminal if you could help it. I mean, you
absolutely not.
And one of the things that's interesting you brought up is the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bills.
That's right.
Medical bills, and I don't remember what the percentage was, but it's like of those people who declare bankruptcy, many of them have insurance. Yeah. So I mean, just because you have insurance doesn't guarantee that they're not going to come after you and bankrupt you.
Well said, Blair. Let's go to some calls. We've got callers on the line, and let's go to Cindy in Iowa. First, Cindy, you're on the air. Go ahead. What's your question?
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having this guest. I work at a research facility that has all the companies that y'all have named. I wanted to say that I don't think the efficacy of a lot of the drugs can be pure as they're reporting to the FDA when we perform procedures on subjects that they do these studies for a living, and you're supposed to have a 30-day washout, but yet they do, because there's not like a main database to show all the research places who has done a study. People will do it with those drugs in their system because of money and the financial benefit way before 30 days. And I know this because I've been working at this facility over 10 years, and I've heard, subjects talk. And so that is so, to me, how in this age of, technology, how can that be going on? Because that's the efficacy in what y'all were talking about, the safetiness of these drugs. So
you're saying that about the 30-day washout, you're saying that then they decide they eliminate people from the trial that are having bad results to shape the data to look better, that kind of thing?
No, what I'm saying are the subjects, there's no regulation because the subjects are lying. They're going to other facilities before that washout and doing studies, and there's no database in the research industry have. And so how can the efficacy of the drugs, you know what I'm saying?
So they're actually involved in multiple clinical trials at the same time and stacking drugs and things like that.
Exactly.
Good question. Good question, Cindy. Thanks for your call. Blair, your comments on that. I know you weren't in the research side of the company, so your comments may be limited, but does that ring a bell to anything?
Well,
what are your thoughts?
Well, I do know how to read the studies, and I can pick apart a good study and a bad study. And unfortunately, many of the people that have to be in these, that are in these studies, they're doing it for financial reasons. They're not doing it because they just coincidentally happen to be at a doctor's office and have this disease state. So, if you have people in multiple studies taking multiple products, then you're going to have, skewed results. Whether it's going to be, skewed positive or skewed negative, you're not going to have you're going to have inappropriate results. The results. I'm just thinking,
what kind of person would? I mean, I guess the economy is being destroyed by Obama policies. Well, virtually every president has been destroying the economy lately, but people are desperate for work and income. So, I mean, are they literally just selling their bodies into multiple clinical trials to get drugged up and paid something? That sounds like suicide to me.
It really, I wouldn't do it. I mean, as desperate as I've been in the past 10 years, I wouldn't do it either. But you see it in the newspaper all the time. Drug study, we'll pay you for your time, and so you get to see the doctor for free, and so they coerce you into this, and you become a human guinea pig.
Wow, and then of course, well, I remember the quote. This was a pharma discussion behind the scenes. Why do you use human guinea pigs? And the answer is they're cheaper than monkeys. Lab monkeys cost more money than paying a human down the street to do it. It's incredible.
Right. And the animal rights folks would be offended if they what they do to
and rightly so.
And the rabbits. But with what they do to humans, it's, hey, we got to get rid of all the human beings.
And then there's experiments like in Nigeria on children. There's experiments in Guatemala on the prisoners that took place. The whole history, Jonas Salk and his experiments on antibiotics in prisoners and all kinds of things, mental asylums, incredible. A lot more straight ahead. Stay with us here on The Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Thank you for continuing with us. We've got Blair Hamrick for just about 5 more minutes, and thank you for continuing to stay with us, Blair. Wow, a lot of great information you've already shared with us. We've also got callers on the line. Are you okay to take another call, Blair?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Roger from Minnesota calling in. Roger, you're on the air. Thanks for joining us. What's on your mind?
Yes, first of all, I want to congratulate Blair for being a whistleblower because it takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage to do that. But what's on my mind, Blair might be able to respond to this too. I just had my first granddaughter about a year or so ago, and I've been able to convince my daughter and son-in-law of the evils of vaccination. I'm totally anti-vaccination, anti-big pharma. But my daughter has supposedly done some reading herself also, and she just thinks at a minimum my granddaughter should have 2 shots, the pertussis and the polio vaccine. Of course, I've read about Salk, I've read about the polio vaccine, and the reason my daughter thinks she ought to get the polio vaccine, they plan to travel, go to Europe, and of course India has a high incidence of polio, and I know it's caused by the vaccinations they're receiving over there. So my daughter is very intelligent, my son is very intelligent, and they respect me, they respect my knowledge, but I just can't get them to convince them, hey, don't give my granddaughter any vaccination. None of them are any good.
Well, you know, the polio vaccine, I mean, we've run those right here on InfoWars. I'll ask you, Blair, for your comments in a second. I know you weren't involved in the vaccine division there, but, you know, the polio vaccine has had stealth viruses, SV40, in it throughout history, and there's a lot of paralysis happening today in India in particular from the vaccine itself. So people get the vaccine and then they end up with paralysis. So we know these vaccines are not clean. I mean, just come on, just look at. I mean, the caller's right. You can't trust these companies. Blair, your thoughts?
Well, I tell you what, I was watching Alex's show a couple of weeks ago, and he had I forgot the lady's name who has that movie that's on Alex's website, The Common Good.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, I don't recall her name at the moment either. Manukian, right? Leslie.
Yeah, right. And you know, I haven't seen the film, but I did see her interview, and I found her interview captivating. I like the fact that, you know, she's not so skewed one way or the other. She's trying to bring both sides of the issue, and let you decide for yourself. So I would recommend for Roger to you know, buy that video.
I think that's great.
I haven't seen it, so I can't endorse it.
That's a great idea. In fact, I think that's available at InfoWarsStore.com, isn't it? The video.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think so. And you know, and I'm not sitting here trying to pimp one of your products. I mean, I'm just,
no,
you know,
I mean,
but at the same time, it's you know, I mean, information is power. And,
well, yeah, and I think it's important to hear both sides of the story. First, there's the deceptive, evil, lying pharma side, and then there's the truth side to the story. So, yeah, hear both sides. I mean, hey, if you want to believe, folks out there, if you want to, you know, be injected with the DNA and RNA fragments from diseased animals, you know, go ahead, get vaccinated. Bill Gates wants you to be a lower population. Infertility, reduce human population. You can be part of that. You win the Darwin Award. You can give yourself the Darwin Award by getting vaccinated. That's my answer to that. But let's take another call, Blair, because I love these calls. We've got Ed in Arizona now joining us. Ed, you're on the air with Blair Hamrick. Go ahead.
Hey, great to talk to both of you guys. I just wanted to get your take on the massive drugging of the youth we have going on in America right now. I, as a teenager, was kind of rebellious, kind of questioning the system. So, you know, my parents, they meant no harm. They thought they were doing what was best for me at the time, took me to see a doctor. And long story short, got put on a Effexor and had some real nasty side effects. I mean, I turned just into an absolute zombie, gained a bunch of weight. I mean, there's no way you can wake up if you're taking those drugs. So I just wanted to get your guys' take on that.
Good point. Go ahead, Blair.
Well, I tell you what, you know, I mean, unfortunately, you know, what pharmaceutical companies have done to bastardize the research, you know, and you know, when I was a rep, they used to call, you know, some of the other reps from competing companies would call Effexor side Effexor, and you know, I mean, just beating up drugs for no reason. But you know, I don't know whether it was a primary care physician that put you on the medication, or whether it was a psychiatrist that did so. I mean, you know, unfortunately, these compounds have side effects, and they're dangerous. So, you know, to cavalierly, I mean,